No, there's validity in I think what you're getting at. So one thing I will say, Blackness is very marketable on non-Black people. That's for one.
Oh,
so
for sure.
For me,
big facts.
You know, I don't know if I receive the quote unquote privilege of that, particularly because of how I show up. So, because a lot of the writing that I do, and even some of the spaces that I appear in, can be Latinx centered but non-Black, right? For certain things, right? I don't think I have there's no benefit to that. Is there a benefit, or do I think I can maneuver in those spaces because I've done the work, and also I'm not gonna play the game? I think to a certain degree, of course, am I gonna be moving in the space? Of course, but in short, I don't think that I benefit from that. Do I think that there is more conversation around Afro-Latinidad? Yes. Do I think it's all productive conversation? No. Do I think that in the spaces that we see it happening, oftentimes entertainment center, that allows for there to be breakthrough for other important conversations? Yes, but I know I'm saying yes and no, because that's really where the space is right now. I started Latina in 2013. At that time, a lot of the Afro-Latinidad conversations, at least from what I saw, were happening on Tumblr, in academic spaces, and in cultural spaces. So that did allow for, when I, launched my blog, for it to, have some traction. What I have seen since launching is that, for example, and I always use this often, when Love and Hip Hop came out, Love and Hip Hop, specifically Miami with Amara, people were like, oh my goodness, this girl is dark skinned, has very textured hair, curvaceous, she speaks Spanish fluently. It was hitting people that there are Black people in Latin America, which was ridiculous to me, but also I can't be mad at the fact that our education system does not allow for Black diasporic education to be discussed and learned in a way that people would not be taken aback in the year 2018 or 2017, to where they're there's Black people in Latin America. What is that? What?
I'm pretty sure there's more Black people in Latin America than North America. I'm pretty sure it's the case, right? Because in Brazil, I think there's more Black people there than here, right? And then you have all the Spanish-speaking countries, and
yeah. And what I will say in terms of the transatlantic, slave trade, when it came to where the drop-off points were, it was Latin America and the Caribbean.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Big facts.
And then it was North America.
Oh yeah.
It was
sorry.
Nah, go ahead. Sorry, nah. This is for you.
No worries. I was just gonna say too that and though that is the case, I always like to look at it from a diasporic lens. No matter where we are, there's unification in that, because I think, not that I'm saying this is where the conversation was going, but I will say I think also what I saw during the conversation around Amara was this notion of Black but not really Black, and there could be this sort of exotification of Blackness outside of the continent and outside of North America in a way that I think can be dangerous. So even now, in the way that I speak about my own Blackness, yes, my family's lineage is, happens to be from the Caribbean and this Latin American country. I want to talk about Blackness on a global level, beyond just those spaces, because also too, that's where my family's from. But like, I'm Black American. I was raised here, lived here my entire life. Like, that is my lived experience. So Black people were everywhere. We're going to be moving around everywhere. And so it's important that like that be acknowledged as well and not segmented. And I know people have like interesting thoughts around that, but like for me, in the space that I'm in, that's really my goal, is like, can we talk about Blackness from a holistic standpoint?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, not to go too deep into it, but you know, people like to silo themselves, but there is sort of like a common shared experience, to a degree, and not only just a common shared experience, but a sort of you know, like we're just exposed to consequences just for being, no matter what space we happen to occupy. So I think that's like a thought that resonates with me. Yeah,
definitely.
Or that point you had brought up in terms of the how this isn't just a regional thing. This really is a global thing. You know, we joked about it here, and a lot of first generation Africans like myself, it was a really, really, really big running joke when Black Panther came out about this like celebration of everybody wanted to do Ancestry.com and My23, and everybody's showing up to
it was a documentary.
Yeah, everybody showing up to the premiere with the dashikis on with drums and this, that, and the third. And meanwhile,
the Black Panther was a documentary.
Meanwhile, if you're a first generation African and you grew up in the 90s with the African booty scratcher bullshit going on, you knew, or if you were Haitian, or if you were Jamaican, or if you were first generation from a quote unquote third world country, it wasn't cool.
They call us.
It wasn't cool. Bro.
They call us coconuts.
They call us coconuts, charcoal,
African booty scratcher,
the whole nine or whatnot. It ties right into
and now they love
the point that you're making. But listen, they can't wait for Black Panther 2. You said Bad Bunny?
They love Bad Bunny now.
All I know is they can't wait. Black people in this country cannot wait for Black Panther 2.
Yeah. As you can tell, Go Boy is proud of his heritage, being from Zamunda. He's
from Nigeria.
He's very proud.
Listen, that's the colonizer talking to him. He can't help himself. Proud Nigerian. Niger no de carry last.